Okay, hello everybody. My name's Tahara Ezrahti with Applied Intuition, and I'm a professional clairvoyant, and I also teach intuitive development classes. And today I'm here with Corinne Cevaer-Corey, and she's an astrologer who focuses on counseling astrology. And we're still in the middle of January here, and so I wanted to connect with her in the beginning of 2024 to get an astrological update of some of the main transits that we can expect this year. So Corinne, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
And let's just enjoy this time together and give some clarity.
Great. So tell us, what could we expect?
Yeah, so I'm excited for 2024 because I think it's going to be a big shift from 2023. It's going to open up a lot of doors for people, and we're all going to feel more uplifted and lighter energy overall. So there are many cosmic events throughout the year, but there are three main ones and more, but I'll just mention three that are pointing in the same direction of elevated shift of consciousness this year. You know, a big step forward for a lot of people on the discovery path, privately as well as collectively. It's a huge year for healing our past traumas. This time we'll feel like we're truly making headways. And the big word of the year for me is freedom. Aquarius, freedom, Uranus, freedom. So Pluto is moving into Aquarius January 20th. Then Jupiter will be conjuncting Uranus April 20th. And that's another big one to push toward more collective consciousness, humanitarian, altruistic thinking. And we'll go in more details about that later. And then the eclipses, particularly the eclipse of April, solar eclipse of April 2024, which will be in Aries, and again helping us to just stand our ground and stay firm in our positions and create clear boundaries as to, you know, what our values are. So yeah, so those are the big 3 points for the year.
Okay, so do you want to take us through and start with the one coming up January 20th and give us some more information about what that will feel like, how we can best use the energy of that transit to further our own personal growth and development and whatever else we are interested in creating?
Right. So on January 20th, which is a few days from now, the sun is entering Aquarius, but the big deal is Pluto on the same day, conjunct the sun, is entering Aquarius. Now, we did have a little bit of a glimpse of when Pluto's been going back and forth between the sign that it's leaving to the sign that it's entering, Capricorn to Aquarius. And it entered Aquarius last year, 2023, March 23rd, and was in Aquarius until June 11th of 2023. Then the whole rest of the year, it was in Capricorn again.
Okay.
So that was, you know, a little bit of a glimpse of, and I remember back then feeling more bubbly, lighter, less heavy, less toxic energy. So again, in 2024, Pluto is going into Aquarius, but it'll come back in Capricorn, but then it'll finally move into Aquarius. So the first time it enters Aquarius is in a few days, January 20th, for 7 months. And then in early September, it will go back into Capricorn, September, October, until November 20th, when it moves into Aquarius for the last time, and will be in Aquarius for the next 20 years.
I think it's interesting how last year it kind of dipped its toe in for just a little while, and this year it's staying in longer, so it's going to be Pluto in Aquarius for the majority of the year. So we'll have more time to get used to it, but then still have this backwards, almost like dipping our toe back into Capricorn for a bit until we finally move into the Aquarian, Pluto Aquarian energy
Right. So
for good.
basically, Pluto is giving us a chance to do the work that we've got to do and be truly, truly done with healing our traumas. When it will re-enter Capricorn in the fall, it might create a lot of chaos. Hopefully not in our private lives if we stay on the higher path and higher timeline, which we'll talk about. But collectively, as a people on Earth, there might be a lot of chaotic energy as the last remnants of the Capricorn structures are fighting to the death to stay alive, but they are actually obsolete and are no longer serving the people, and therefore they are on their way out. But they might be that we might be observing that last resistance in the fall before Pluto moves into Aquarius for the next 20 years. The cycle of Pluto is 248 years around the sun. So it was in Capricorn since it entered Capricorn in 2008. And when it did, as we all remember, it triggered the economic crisis, the financial crisis, the real estate crisis. All of these are Capricorn words. Capricorn is about big business, big organizations, big institutions, top-down structures, authority of all kinds.
So
all
governments,
yeah, all kinds of governments, financial sector, banking sector, and all to do with laws and regulation and more, real estate and architecture, the body, the physical body. It's anything to do with the material. And so Pluto is about power and control and the abuse of it in the sign of where it's at. So when we had Pluto in Capricorn from 2008 till 2024, we've had to review and change our materialism, with money, with the concepts of stability and security, with resources, with a sense of self-worth. So, all the issues related to power abuse and control have been exposed. And still this year, right, until it finally will ease into Aquarius at the end of the year, and we'll finally feel like, we're finally entering the new Aquarian era, which
so the age of Aquarius is really, this will help it feel more like we're there.
Yes.
It's an idea.
And the age of Aquarius, Pluto exposes wherever it's in. So when it shifts to Aquarius, so we saw some a bit in 2023, and we'll see some for the 7 months that it's in Aquarius now. And then in the future, basically, all the Aquarian issues are going to be, the focus is going to be put on the Aquarian issues, but also they'll be under the microscope, right?
So what are those? So we know we just talked about Capricorn as governments, business, structure, the physical world. So what are the realms that Aquarius covers?
So Aquarius is all about freedom, but freedom, so many layers of that word, right? That it could be understood at so many different levels. So it's all of it. Technology, AI, and we did see a lot of talk starting to talk, about AI when Pluto dipped itself into Aquarius. All these technologies have been in development for many years, but now we're going to start seeing them express themselves and be the issues of our new world. So Aquarius and Uranus, which is the planet that rules Aquarius, is all about networks, logistics, So I did say AI, scientific advances, discoveries, but it's also all about altruism and communities and the humanitarian spirit, the consciousness of the collective. It's the people, we the people, as opposed to the authorities telling us what to do. It's more the people deciding together, coming together in communities and new networks to push forth the future that humanity desires. And it's about regaining sovereignty. And the Aquarius sign is also about dreams and goals and dreams. And it's an air sign, so it's really about people, communication, networks. And this year, I truly believe that Pluto in Aquarius is going to, it's going to happen fast, because Uranus is fast, Aquarius is fast. It's like we don't have a minute to waste anymore, that kind of attitude. And also, February and March, those 2 full months will be without retrograde planets. So the energy is going full force ahead. We are also having, well, so let me stay with Pluto. Pluto in Aquarius is about bringing abundance. It's, I think we have to think about, when we are thinking about the sign that we're going toward, we also have to think about releasing what we had behind. And Capricorn was financial worries, material, being material, struggling on the material level. And so worries about the material will ease. People are going to be have more courage to stand up for who they are. And it's really a year. Aquarius is about authenticity and being our true self. And a lot of us light workers or Aquarian minded, Piscean minded people may have felt our whole lives that we weren't fitting in that Capricorn corporate world, with very rigid structures. And we felt like we were the square peg in the round hole, right? But now, all to become that square peg. So it's going to create a square hole, right? It's not going to be this misfit anymore. The new energy is going to be about balancing the body and releasing the traumas, healing, regaining self-esteem for many of us. So it's something really refreshing energy.
Yeah, something that struck me as you were describing these different Aquarian energies, and then the concept, the type of energy Pluto has, that death and rebirth and that power and the use and misuse of power. There is so much talk about AI because we know how powerful it can be, but it's also scary because we also know how that could really get out of control. And so as I'm hearing you talk, I'm hearing that we, the people, need to be very conscious of using that AI, using these technological tools for the benefit of ourselves, the benefit of society, and not letting them fall into the hands of those who are going to misuse them, or setting up structure, probably setting up new laws, new structures to govern how these can be used for good. It's almost like the atomic bomb, right? Where that's splitting the atom was very powerful, and it can be used for good things, and it can be used for the most destructive things.
And that's going to be the discussion for the next 20 years. Everything revolving about the greater advances of science and technology, and putting what do you say?
I said some boundaries around
putting things in place to prevent abuse and excessive control from people that have the power and the authority. But in this new age, there will be less of a sense. These people are not going to be given by the collective that power that we've actually allowed for these authorities and governments and institutions to completely take over.
Right.
And that new era is going to see so many changes, and they may come very fast, and if maybe quite abruptly as well when they do, because Uranus just is like lightning energy. It just acts very fast.
Yeah.
It's like it's obsolete, gone. It's like, whereas Pluto is, like you said, death and rebirth, but it's slow death and rebirth because it's deep transformation, transmutation, and honestly, it needs to be taking its time to do so in ourselves when we do our own healing work, because we would die if it went too fast.
Yeah, that's funny.
Because
So Pluto's more like things decomposing. You bury something in the ground, it'll take 6 months to decompose, and that's how it does, you get rid of it. Whereas Uranus is more like lightning strikes and you have a fire and something burns down in 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. And so Pluto is about the hidden, the unseen, the unexamined. And so when it comes and puts its its focus on Aquarius in this case, then all of the Aquarian themes are to be, brought to light, exposed, in order to evolve and get transcended, right?
It seems like it's kind of interesting how the AI and this powerful technology coming into the public realm, it's a good thing that it's coming now versus coming 5 years ago, because what I'm hearing as I hear you talk is this collective consciousness that it's more like we the people and us not abdicating our responsibility to authority figures or governments or big business. Like, no, we want to be in charge. We want to manage this, where that creates a little bit more of a safeguard. It doesn't mean it won't be abused, but it creates more of a sense of this needs to benefit society as a whole instead of just the few oligarchs at the top.
Yes. And in our Constitution, we have, liberty and justice for all. And that's truly going to be embraced in this new next 20 years. And the United States is having a Pluto return, meaning that when it got created, when the Constitution was written,
was it the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence?
The little chart of
Oh,
Declaration of Independence.
Okay.
When the U.S. was born, Pluto was in the late degrees of Capricorn, and so it's been in the late degrees of Capricorn in the sky, and so it's considered a Pluto return, which is completely death and rebirth, for lack of a better word, rehauling, complete reinventing itself as a nation. And that's why we've seen, as Pluto has progressed into Capricorn, we've seen all of these structures kind of crumbling and falling apart, not serving the people to our best interest. And so lately there's been great consciousness of the fact that there's been a threat to the existence of our principles,
right,
the principles of our republic, and the democratic concepts have been, under scrutiny, and so we do have an election this year. Pluto will be back in Capricorn.
Right. They call that the October surprise, because oftentimes in October, right before an election, there's something that happens that shifts the energy of the election. But I also think it's fascinating what you said, that for the United States, this is our first Pluto return. So in a way, it's the first reiteration of the United States. Like other countries that are much older, they've had
like the UK, France, they've had several Pluto returns, but Pluto, as I said, goes around in 248 years. So every 248 years is when you have a Pluto return.
Yeah.
And so there is a complete breaking down of all the systems in order to renew and recreate a new nation.
Yeah.
You know, it needs to slowly burn down, and then the phoenix rises from the ashes. That's the symbolism of Pluto.
So I think for all of us, we need to know to not be too afraid that this is kind of a natural process and that we will survive. There will be a rebirth after the breaking down. And I went to China in 1995, and I was really struck because it's such an old culture that
Yeah.
people have this sense of like things come and go and rulers come and go and this things come and go, but in the end, the Chinese culture endures. And it struck me because it was very different than growing up and being, born in the United States, where we're such a new country. Every little thing we react to. And it almost reminded me as a child, as a young child, maybe the first time you get the flu and you're, sick, and you feel like you're going to die, and you need
Right.
your mom or your dad to say, no, you'll get over it in a couple days. And I know you feel horrible, but have some chicken soup and it'll be okay. So
Yeah.
my sense that in China, people have been through so many cycles that they didn't freak out in the same way. They had this sense that like, we will carry on, even though we're having these things that look catastrophic and maybe even are, where in the
Right.
US, we haven't had that chance to mature.
Well,
And
it was our
this is
first
interesting.
time. It was our first time having
Yeah.
Pluto in Capricorn. So we haven't had our, our societal structures, our foundation, we haven't had it threatened before.
And survived it.
And survived it.
Right.
Exactly. So so Pluto, control, power, right? And then Uranus and Aquarius, freedom. But it's like Capricorn, duty, versus Aquarius, love. So it's doing things not out of almost like obligation and duty and a sense of like, I have to, but I hate it. It's everything is gonna, with the Aquarian era, everything comes from the heart, and it's heart-centered communities, heart-centered networks, heart-centered companies. Everybody can thrive. It doesn't have to be, that the higher up at the expense of the rest of the people.
Right. So I wanted to ask you one more.
It's this life depleting energy.
You froze for a second, but I wanted to ask you one more question before we move on to the next transit to make sure we have time for all of it. So with Pluto conjuncting the sun, and especially as it's moving into signs, I know the sun kind of lightens up and shines the spotlight on whatever it touches. So on, what is it, Saturday, the 20th, can we just expect to feel a lot of that Pluto energy? Well, we're
already feeling it.
Yeah.
We're already feeling it. This is such a long haul energy. Yeah, sure. The sun from the day before to the next day is moving from Capricorn to Aquarius, and the sun moves fast. It moves 1 degree every day. But Pluto is going to move very, very slowly. As a matter of fact, it'll just move very, very slowly and then stop, retrograde, come back, and then, back into Capricorn, as we said, in the fall, and then finally cross again at 0 Aquarius, November 20th, 2024. So, so this weekend is going to just simply be an amplification. It's almost like Uranus, Aquarius are saying, here we are.
Okay.
And
it's like a marker in time, almost like a little exclamation point.
Yes. And it will be interesting to watch global events to see if there might be some Plutonian energetics going on, and some people or some events or some, issues that may come up around this weekend of January 20th. which by the way is the anniversary, right, of like the next president coming in next year.
Yeah, it's the inauguration day
for the United
every
States.
4 years.
But Pluto affects the whole entire world, not just us.
Right.
We just happen to be under a Pluto return, so it's very significant. Whatever the U.S., however the U.S. processes this transcendence, it'll be, hopefully a light for the world as we are going through the growing pains of learning to move beyond all the restrictions and all the obsolete structures and institutions that have been, holding humanity back up until right now.
Okay, well, I think that's a really good summary, and I think we should move on and look at our next important transit coming up.
So actually, well, yes. So Uranus, Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Taurus, April 20th. But it's going to be, again, more of the same, like pushing us to just examine ourselves and reflect upon the concept of freedom, which will start this weekend. Like, how do I feel held back, blocked, stopped? How can I thrive instead of survive, right? A lot of the energy of Pluto in Capricorn has been about pushing, and surviving, opposed to just open your heart and truly survive and truly thrive. How can I live a life aligned in frequency, in resonance with joy and abundance and myself, my true authentic self? How can I feel alive? Those are all the Uranus and Aquarian themes. On a personal level, depending on where the Sun conjunct Pluto in entering Aquarius, so depending on where zero Aquarius is located in your natal chart, I think it's worth looking at in one's natal chart just to see which domain of life is going to be going through a revolution, for an evolution. By the way, the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius, we had, in 1789, we had the French Revolution. So, it has this energy of, if it's not working, we're just going to throw it out.
Well, so, the interesting thing about that too is the United States, the Declaration of Independence was in 1776, but then it's like another 9 years before the Constitution was ratified. So the Constitution, which really is what we're living off of now as the rules, that didn't come in 1776. It was after that, and it was a long process that was kind of coinciding with the French Revolution. So that whole revolutionary ideas and new ways of setting up government, that, was part of the formation, and all the arguing and there was a lot of debate, and it was not an easy thing to come up with the Constitution.
So that's at the global level, but at the personal level, this year is really, really, we have help. We have our multidimensional beings that we are beings of light, right? So there's going to be more and more consciousness about that. The fact that we are energy beings, not just physical beings. And so it's about releasing the programs, like the imprints that we've got within ourselves. It's upgrading our DNA really by doing emotional release work and physical release work of patterns and traumas and wounds, and so before, with up until now, with Pluto in Capricorn, and before that even, we still felt that we were obligated to act according to the rules and the expectations of the family members and the societal norms, but now we are going to be encouraged as individuals to step outside of our comfort zone to reach our true potential. And all of us no exception. We have amazing potential as frequency beings, as light beings. And there's really that it's really, love versus duty,
Mm.
And am I doing this because I feel crushed and oppressed and suppressed and obligated? Or am I doing this by choice, coming from the heart? I choose to do this, even if it's to serve, but it comes from the heart, as opposed to service that's just imposed.
Mm-hmm. So this Jupiter conjunct Uranus in
Yes,
Taurus. So
right.
how long will the Jupiter Uranus conjunction be in effect?
So Jupiter goes around the sun every 12, 13 years, relatively
Mm-hmm.
short cycle, but Uranus goes around in 84 years. But the last time that both of them conjuncted in Taurus, which is the sign that it's conjuncting in Taurus, April 20th,
Right.
2024, was in May of 1941. And so I personally feel that all the, this was during the World War II, and at the end of the war, we had all these international institutions that were created and set up
Mm-hmm.
in order to serve the world.
Like the United Nations and
In
so
the
forth.
ideal world, except we've recently, definitely over the last 10, 20 years and more, realized that a lot of these institutions are serving themselves and nothing but themselves, and the world
Mhm.
is not better off as a result of their existence. And it has just been like they've just perpetuated their continuing to operate, um, you know, giving the people some kind of keywords like, oh, we're going to make you safe, we're going to, keep you secure, we're going to keep you healthy, we're going to keep you this or that. But they're not working, and so Jupiter conjunct Uranus the last time around was 1941. I think that this new conjunction is going to bring about a whole new structure of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and how the countries will be communicating with each other, and how it's going to occur within each and every country. um Aquarius is more, and Uranus is more the energy of equity. Institutions that first people thought they work with altruistic, good-hearted intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people did work in these institutions holding those ideals.
Right.
But a lot of other toxic, controlling, not dominating energies were at play through these institutions and taking advantage of our being oblivious. And now the people are waking up. They're going to say no when they see it play out again next. And it's going to maybe take a whole 20 years for humanity to finally embrace the Aquarian age.
Uh-huh.
But hey, there's hope.
Okay.
There's hope. And so Taurus is about self-worth and value and earth, Mother Earth,
Right.
land, farming, food. It is big business, financial markets, banking, but it's also peace and heart and beauty and nature. And Jupiter will expand, because Jupiter is about expansion, it's about abundance, it's about growth.
Mm-hmm.
So and Uranus is about technology, innovation, but disruption, and it's about space as well, and our new discoveries and new mindfulness and new awareness of the fact that we are part of a whole universe, a whole cosmos, and more of the people are going to be open to realizing that, hey, we're not alone here, and we're part of a whole, and we're all one. This is the the Piscean, Aquarian and Piscean ideals, and Pisces, Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, is in the last few degrees of Pisces for a while until 2026. And right now, again this year, we have Saturn in Pisces. So the Piscean, unity concept is very much prevalent and present, reinforced by Pluto entering Aquarius in 2024. And then 2025, Pluto will be only in Aquarius, and then Neptune in Pisces, and then Saturn in Pisces. And so, we're at the end of the zodiac here. So we're really taking an exponential curve in evolution. Humanity as a whole is really embarking on a steep evolution. And
so this is one of our transition years. Last year and this year are really the transition years into the new era.
Yeah, so it's really going to be about, like, a lot of us, it's going to be about expansion of our mindset, lots of discoveries, opening to new, we're going to be open to new developments, and people are going to be more and more aware of the power of their own thoughts to create their own reality. So more and more people are turning off the TV, the TV that the part of it that only spits out toxic energy at us, almost like this, unconscious programming that we're constantly receiving. So more and more people are just turning their back to traditional conservative Capricornian controlling, dominating media that only wants to keep the status quo. So they're continuing the fear, and talking about all the negative things around planet Earth.
Right.
And the more and more people will turn their back away from giving their attention to very traumatic, sad, fear, creators of fear events, less energy is going to go forth. And the ones that are creating these fearful events and these catastrophic events, there's going to be less energy for them to draw on to make those happen. And
because we're not paying attention, huh?
We are gradually moving to a more peaceful humanity, a more abundant Earth. And in the background, all of the people have been working for the last, to a great extent, at creating this beautiful new, more beautiful, more heart-centered, more peaceful, more abundant reality. We can, and this is our birthright, to live a beautiful life, and not a life filled of trauma after trauma after trauma. And this year is the year for us, if we want. It's a choice. We can free ourselves from all of that and be done. And their belief systems, energetically speaking, the Earth has been already cleaned quite a bit, but we are keeping ourselves trapped because we're sticking to our belief systems. And when we finally reach that level, one day we wake up and it's like, oh, it doesn't have to be this way. And the concept of karmas and a lot of concepts that have kept us bound, in chains, we can realize, hey, this is just a belief. I can throw it out the window, but I have to choose to do that, and consciously do the work to free myself,
to free our minds. Okay.
It's really a shift of paradigm. It's huge shift of paradigm that we are in doing.
Okay. So we have just a couple minutes left. Do you want to take like 2 minutes and tell us about 2-3 minutes and tell us about the eclipses coming up in April and the
Right.
fall?
So the eclipses are going to be in March 25th, lunar eclipse in Libra, and April 8th, solar eclipse in 19 Aries. And then again, some eclipses in September 17th, lunar eclipse in Pisces, and solar eclipse October 2nd in Libra. And it's going to be, you know, a lot of reassessment of our relationships to people, to institutions, to the environment, to our neighbors, to everyone. It's going to be, you know, Aries is the locomotive, the leader, it's the fire energy, and then Libra is relationships, and so it's going to be this back and forth. I have it written somewhere here. Yeah, it's you know, it's back and forth between independence and autonomy, and needing the support of others and companionships, you know, and creating alliances and partnerships. It's really a lot this year about examining our relationships and realizing that if certain ones, certain people, certain places, certain events are not, you know, supporting us, it's time for us to make a conscious choice to let go, to release, to move on, even if it's a family member or, you know, relationships that in theory you can't undo, but you can undo how the relationship is, like the nature of the relationship, you know, and the positioning of each person within the relationship. It's about reassessing, you know, our path and compromising, but learning to stand in, you know, to hold our position as well.
Great. That's wonderful. So it looks like we can look forward to more freedom, more healing, some reorganization in our relationships, and we're kind of at the beginning of a big 20-year cycle.
Right. And I can share this this quote from Nikola Tesla, who really does embody the Aquarian age, even though he came, you know, way ahead of his time. He had said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And that universe, you know, is, when we think universe, we immediately think out there. And yes, the universe out there, but also the inner universe, you know, the inner cosmos, as above, so below, right? So everything is frequency and resonance and energy and vibration. And we are going to take control of our own. We're going to become more and more aware of the type of vibration that we wish to attract, but also of the type of vibration that we emit, and keep a watch on, do I want to be this way? Do I want to emit this kind of frequency? Yes, no, you know, it's about learning how to operate from the heart for most of humanity.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And if people want to book a reading with Corinne, I will put her contact information below. You're doing mostly Zoom readings these days, right? So you can be anywhere in the world. You don't have to be
anywhere in the world
where she is.
I have clients in France. I've had clients in Pakistan. I've had clients in the Caribbean. I have clients, you know, all over the US, Asia, wherever. Yeah.
So I'll put that below. And if you want to book a reading with me or find out about classes, I'll also put my contact information. So Corinne, thank you so much. Everyone, have a good start to 2024 and stay tuned. Maybe we'll do this later in the year to get some updates.
Yes.
So take care, everyone.
Let's just focus on two words: freedom, expansion.
Okay, freedom and expansion. It's a good place to stop. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.